What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, checking out the ProTech Strider PT Plus, which is an automatic knife from ProTech, which they're obviously very well known for, and for good reason. They do a good job on their automatics. Now, a couple notes on that name. You may recognize ProTech and Strider as two separate brands. This is a Strider design, but made and sold under the ProTech brand, and so that's why you have both ProTech and Strider logos on there. The PT Plus is actually a revision to the original PT, and so I don't have the original to compare it to, but I do know the revisions. And so mainly they removed a stop pin, they upgraded the hardware to be a little bit larger, so you have T8 on the hardware, T6 on the pocket clip, and then they increased the size of the handles for a little bit better ergos, and also upgraded the spring internally for a little bit more snappy action, improved the acoustics and responsiveness. Really snappy knife, just like every ProTech automatic that I've handled. Not quite as hard of a kick as the Rent, and that's mainly because the Rent's so small. The kick, I think, feels a little bit more dramatic, but really great action on this. Also a pretty friendly EDC size, a little bit small for some probably, at 7 inches overall. And that gives you a 4-inch handle, which is nice and comfortable. You can get a 4-finger grip, or at least I can get a 4-finger grip on there. It is a little bit tight because it's only about 3.5 inches of usable space on that handle. And so there is a finger choil and also a sharpening choil. So this finger choil is kind of a half finger choil with not a real finger guard. So, you know, use caution, obviously, be responsible, be safe, but it does have this nice point that acts as a finger guard. It's pretty hard to slip past that, but you definitely can get past it. So just use kind of common sense when you're using that, but really comfortable grip in that kind of formation. It lets you get a little bit more of a relaxed grip on that handle and really fit any size hand. Also does a really nice job of hiding that pocket clip right behind the knuckles for a really comfortable experience. So you can't really feel the pocket clip at all, which is nice. Has some really nice jimping. This is some of my favorite style of jimping. You see a lot of really compact where in this amount of space there might be 20 jimps and there's only 4 or 5 here. And so I like this a little bit better. It's really effective and grabs onto my thumb well. It ends at the right place for my hand, and so don't really feel like it needed to continue any further up. You can also get into that pinch grip, more controlled grip, really comfortably as well. And just an overall comfortable experience on this knife. Now, 3-inch blade that cuts down to about a 2.5-inch cutting edge because it has both that sharpening choil and that half finger choil. And so kind of a small blade for an EDC knife with that cutting edge only being 2.5 inches, but I find it pretty effective at its size and again, really comfortable to use. I don't think that's going to be a huge limiting factor unless you really need something with a larger blade. Now, drop point style blade on this one, stone wash. I really like how ProTech does their stone wash. Looks good, hides imperfections really well, so if you end up scratching that, it's going to hide it pretty well in that stone wash. And Magnacut on this one. So I don't think that's the standard. I believe it was originally 154 cm, but this one's Magnacut, and purposely left out the price so far because I don't remember what I paid for this, to be honest. Picked it up at a show and believe it was a prototype, and they're planning on releasing it retail eventually, so that's why I'm still kind of showing it even though it's a prototype. They do plan on selling this at Blade HQ, Knife Center, Way of Knives, wherever you buy your ProTechs, usually PVK. And if I had to guess, I'm going to say it's probably in the 240, 260 range. American made, Magnacut, I think that kind of seems like the price that something like this would go for from them, but don't quote me. It could be cheaper, it could be more expensive. I don't remember exactly. I paid cash. I know it was under 300 and I think it was over 200, so somewhere in that range, which is a pretty wide range. Now, nice pocket clip on here, really deep carry. Like I mentioned, you don't feel that at all. It really disappears because they tucked it nicely towards the kind of finger side of your hand, so it disappears under your knuckles. Really deep carry, which is nice. Not reversible, unfortunately, although it is removable. The button is also really nicely recessed in there, so pretty hard to accidentally deploy this, but really easy to deploy when you want to. But don't think you're going to have any accidental deployments with that. Now, that's kind of everything about the knife. I really like this knife a lot, but one thing I did want to talk about, which some people probably aren't going to care about, and you can feel free to tune out if that's the case, But this is an automatic knife and over 2-inch blade at 3 inches, which means where I live, this is legal to own, but not legal to carry. And that's true from a lot of places, and there's plenty of places that it is legal. But the reason I bring that up is I posted on my community post probably about a month ago at this point. There's an organization called Knife Rights that sued the state of California to overturn the ban on automatic knives and balisongs. And if you're familiar with both styles of knives, you know they're not really any more dangerous than any other type of knife. In fact, I can open a flipper just as fast as I can open a button lock. There is a difference, it's fractions of a second. And a balisong is even slower to open. There's just a kind of stigma around them that made lawmakers ban them when they were writing their laws, and Knife Rights is working to overturn them. I'm hopeful that in the future, because of this lawsuit, that I will eventually be able to legally carry this. And that's because they have a track record of success in overturning bans just like this one in other states. And so I'm saying all that to say, if you have the disposable income, you have some extra money, and you can afford to do so, definitely consider donating to them or becoming a member to their organization. I have no affiliation with them, never interacted with them outside of making a few donations and being an annual member to their organization. And so no affiliation, but they are working really hard to make sure that we can continue to enjoy knives and different types of knives and just enjoy this hobby and legally, and hopefully we'll continue to do so. And I know there's going to be people out there that say, you know, I live in somewhere with really lax knife laws. This doesn't make any difference to me. And that might be true now, but all it takes is one lawmaker to propose a bill, get people behind it, and introduce new bans on different style of knives. They may do the exact opposite. We're saying, you know, automatic knives are no more dangerous than a flipper tab, but they might hear that and say flipper tabs are just as dangerous as automatic knives. Maybe we need to ban those. And so if something like that does happen, Knife Rights is kind of our first line of defense to fighting back and making sure that we are able to continue to enjoy this hobby. So definitely consider donating to them. I'm going to put a link in the description. Like I said, no affiliation with them, but as someone who makes content largely centered around knives, I felt like I probably should spend some time, you know, shining a spotlight on organizations that are trying to help the industry that I make content on. So, and everyone who's watching this, you know, enjoys content on and collects and is a hobby or a user or whatever it is in some way. If you're watching this video, you probably have an interest in knives, and so it's in your best interest and my best interest to make sure that we can continue to legally buy, own, and carry all of these different type of tools. So kind of a random tangent there, but if you stayed tuned, I appreciate it. Definitely check out the link, read more about them, read their blog posts about what they're doing and what they've done in the past if you're interested. And let me know what you think of this knife specifically down in the comments below. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. Helps the channel out a little bit with the algorithm, just seeing a little bit more engagement, which I always appreciate and enjoy talking to you. So as always, hope you have a great one. Take care.